All right, 15 minutes on the clock. We're going to do Lulu Wang's The Farewell, sort of revisitation. It's both our second times watching it, second times talking about it on this channel. What did you think about it on your second watch?
I am still as much in love with it as I was the first time. I think kind of what we discussed yesterday, the way that we watched it, we realized how physical of a movie it is.
Yeah.
And that's just something no one can take away from
I think that's the main thing I sort of wanted to talk about, just the physicality of a lot of movies this year, but it's the more obvious physicality with 1917, where it's, I said afterwards, I feel tired. I feel like we just went on this trip because it's the torment of the one shot where it makes you feel like you're going through this time with them. And then the same with Uncut Gems, which is a different type of physicality, but also the same, like you're sweating during it. You feel like all frantic and claustrophobic. But for The Farewell, it's a different type of physicality, a much more unique type of physicality that I've never really gotten from another movie before, I think.
It's almost like having a panic attack throughout the whole movie.
Oh, you think so?
Well,
Oh, I disagree.
Really?
That's Uncut Gems.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I guess it's breathing throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's a calming.
Breathe. That's true.
Yeah. I don't really feel it's the opposite of panic attack. It's sort of like the sort of like relaxed feeling you get after a panic attack, I guess,
Like that's how you calm down.
Yeah. It's you breathing through a panic attack. As opposed to putting you through a panic attack, it's giving you the tools to get through one.
Yeah.
Which I said it's kind of like, there's that scene with Billy and her aunt at the massage parlor. And her aunt says her Chinese is not very good, so just give her everything. And the masseuse is like, cupping, and she's like, yeah, cupping. And then they do the cupping, and it involves fire getting on your back. And I saw this after my first viewing. There's this sort of weird cutaway scene. There's a lot of like cool cutaways where it's just Billy reacting to scenery. One of my favorite ones is when she arrives in China, and it's all the buildings, and they're so big, and it's sort of the camera's pulling back, and you're sort of like seeing like all the buildings are getting bigger, and then the road to the end is getting longer. You realize this journey is going to be a while, but you don't realize that until it goes back to Billy sort of looking at it, just like, oh, this is going to be a long trip for you. I'm sorry for what's about to happen. But there was that cutaway to her looking at the mirror. She pulls up her shirt, and you see all the marks from the cup.
Oh, the backfire.
The backfire from a massage.
Yeah.
And in that massage parlor, the masseuse says, or the auntie says, Billy's like, it hurts. And the auntie says, yeah, it won't work if it doesn't hurt a little bit. It won't work if there's not some pain. And that's sort of the whole process of getting through a tragedy. It involves feeling hurt and feeling the pain. And that's sort of mimicked throughout the movie with the scenery. There's paintings, and there's calm paintings in very stressful situations. There's a calm painting in the hotel room when she's bickering with her mom. A calm painting in the hospital when everyone's sort of freaking out about Nai dying. There's this back and forth between pain and sort of relief. And that's sort of also represented in the comedy of the movie.
And I think as for the paintings, just it beginning, like we talked about with the cherry blossoms at the bottom of the screen, just it really showing you what the movie's going to be about. It's like this is always looming underneath all of this nice stuff. And then what you were saying, just with the physicality, just every time there's a sad moment, there's a joke right afterwards. It's like Chinese people have saying, when people get cancer, they die. Then there's a pause, and then she keeps going.
Is that a joke? I know it's played for a joke in the trailer, but I don't know if it's a joke in the actual movie.
The pause is where is allowing for it to be a joke in the trailer, and is that a joke in the movie? And then the fact that it keeps going afterwards you realize it's not a joke.
The trailer has a music, so it is played for a joke. But I don't know if it's a joke in the movie. It doesn't feel like one because it's such a silent scene. that's a really good scene too, with her dad sort of looking down back to the camera, and Billy's just sort of like walks like, "What's wrong, Dad?" And he's just like pouting down, like he has no answer. He can't give an answer.
I love that in the past few we've been talking about dads, and like for this one, once again we can really talk about him and just him and his brother, and how they are truly the saddest people in the movie, but they don't know how to deal with it at all, like compared to their, like they can't function through it like everyone else in the movie.
Or they're not allowed to, maybe, also. I was thinking, yeah, they don't have the skills to, but maybe they've also been told you can't do that, you can't cry. I've been accused recently of, I thought I was a very like emotional person, that I could reveal my emotions pretty well, but apparently I'm subject to toxic masculinity, and I don't actually talk about my emotions that much. And I think on that scene of him on the stage, he's probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite moment in the movie, honestly. His Nai-Nai's dad's her uncle, Billy's uncle, on the stage, and him just sort of saying thank you to my wife for taking care of my mom, and Mom, none of my success would have been without you. I'm sorry I haven't been by your side. You're the best mom that's in the world. And him just breaking down alone, crying on that stage. And that's the other thing, he's alone. So no one's, all anybody can do is clap. Like, they're as much a reason for him not knowing how to handle his emotions as he is. Because they're also kind of put off by it. Like, we don't know how to react. I guess we just...
And no one goes up to help them.
Good speech, exactly. Yeah. So it's just that loneliness.
Yeah, that's just... And then... Even within his speech, there's so much that is revealed, just the amount of sacrifice that everyone else has to give, and the amount of sacrifice that everyone has to give for Nai-Nai, and the amount of sacrifice that Nai-Nai had to give for everyone else.
It's a very transactional relationships.
And that's family.
Yeah. But the transactions, they're not capitalistic in that it doesn't serve individuals. The way Billy, I guess... not talking her tumor, which we mentioned, sort of comparing that, like Nai-Nai has her tumor, which the family keeps away from her. Billy's tumor is not getting the fellowship, which she keeps away from her family. So it's a more, but who benefits from that more, Billy or the family?
Exactly. And it's like, it's kind of like American culture versus Chinese culture. And I think that's part of what is trying to be portrayed in the movie. I don't know for sure because I don't know much about anything other than American culture. But just this deep isolation within the fathers and this deep isolation within Billy with her own life, and the fact that she is the only modern person in the room at all times, and she's the only person that can keep something to herself and never share it, but it's also maybe reflective of her mother and like how much they're alike, and how she's crying in the taxi on the way to the airport, and she never says why. She never breaks down through the movie. She only gets angry through the movie. So it's like this isolation within these women, I guess.
I want to go back to the physicality thing. I just thought of this sort of like, so the whole movie's kind of a massage. You're sort of like, it's like, ow, that hurts, and then it releases the tension. Like, oh, you found a part that hurts, and then you release the tension with a joke or whatever. There's also I think going back to just me questioning, is that a joke? Chinese people, they have a saying, when they have cancer, you die. I guess the question of that being a joke is part of the sort of tension in the movie, the sort of feeling like, or that scene when, that shot of her cousin, like, crying, it's funny, but you're also like, is this a joke? Yeah. Should I be laughing? Is this...
Just this not knowing, like this discomfort that you feel, even like with your own family. I think everyone can relate. Like when something's going on and you kind of know about it, and then something funny happens or something weird happens, or someone kind of brings it up, and you laugh, but you're like, should I laughed at that? Can I laugh at that? Is that right?
Or just dealing with tragedy. Yeah. I think it's just sort of like, it allows for things to be wrong in a way, like, oh, we shouldn't be handling it this way. Like, this is the way that how everybody is just sort of letting her plan the thing. And yeah, just because it makes her happy. But also you see how stressed out she gets in that scene with the lobster and the crab. Like, she could, like, this this could be shortening her life, for all you know, and it's just people don't know how to handle, like, this is wrong. The fact that so many jokes are happening is kind of wrong in this situation.
But at the same time, it's like the best way to handle tragedy is wrong. Like, just do it wrong, and you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how you get through it.
I think this is like the perfect debut, like, topic for a director.
It is.
Because in many ways you could see the flaws in it. At least I can. Even for Awkwafina.
She's not perfect.
No.
It's not a perfect movie.
And it's not a perfect performance from her for dramatic performance. There are parts where I'm like, her going up on the stage and getting the microphone and sort of doing like that teeth thing. I was like, that's such a stand-up thing. That's Awkwafina. That's not Billy. But yeah, that thing is the fact that, but it's also dealing with the topic that you don't know how to handle.
Yeah.
So it's almost the fact that she's almost excused for every mistake because tragedy involves making mistakes in the way you handle it.
Like, she knew that tragedy is only dealt with wrongly, so she did, I see what you're saying. She's hiding her mistakes within the accidental wrong that is in the real world, and therefore it makes it one of the most real movies.
Yeah. I think it's, oddly in a way, even, I mean, we're gonna, compared to something like Uncut Gems, that's just so, like, blatantly pushing an envelope. I think this one shows that you can also push an envelope quietly, reservedly, like, it's like an introvert's rebellion, almost, you know? Because, it just shows the power in silence. It's almost like a Miyazaki movie in that way, like a Studio Ghibli, Spirited Away, where the rebellion in that movie is saying, be a good worker. Or like Wonder Woman, where it's like, that's rebellious in the fact, like, optimism and smiling at the face of adversity. That's the dangerous move to make.
It's just like even the other day when we were talking about the difference in our societies when it comes to music, it's like rebelling is saying how sad you are and not talking about it and not physically or actively rebelling. It's like accepting it, I guess. Yeah.
Here's one question, or sort of crisis I had today, because I'm reading about sort of voice and it's easier to, when a piece of art has a strong voice, it's more pleasing to the ear because we feel like we're connecting to the writer or the director or whoever is behind it, and that's what we want. We want it to feel like a human's talking to us. We don't want to just feel like it's these symbols giving us a message. But there's the idea of like, okay, so sincerity in a piece of work is important, but there's a danger of when sincerity clouds quality. And I wonder how much for The Farewell we're allowing the sincerity and the mistakes to charm us. And maybe that's not a detriment to the movie, but just in general, I think for us as movie watchers or just consumers, we do sometimes allow sincerity to get in the way.
And I don't necessarily think it's bad because movies were made for like an individual watch, or the movies that we like were made for like that individual watch. And I think we can acknowledge from a somewhat technical standpoint, because we don't know professionally, we can acknowledge that sometimes it's not perfect, and we can acknowledge that there are mistakes, but the fact that we know it and we're charmed by it, the fact that we're charmed by it knows that we know that it exists. Right. And that's where the bridge is. That's like where, we understand that. Yeah. Like, it's okay to be charmed by it. Like, we can like a bad movie, like Nacho Libre.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a great movie. There's nothing wrong with that movie. But it's just, again, with The Farewell, it's still there are little parts in Awkwafina's performance that take me out of it. I think she's too grim during the whole thing. I kind of wish she put on a smile when she walked in. That's a weird thing to say about, like, smile more. Yeah. But it's so obvious that she's sad, don't you think?
Like, she's trying really hard to give a dramatic performance.
And it feels like, Naina, are you really being duped by this?
Yeah.
Are you really you can't tell that she's depressed fuck. Not just like depressed, like jet lag depressed. Like she is fucking sad.
Yeah.
But there's also that music cue.
Oh no, we cannot. I like it when the deeper voice comes in, but those harmonies.
I hate it even more with the deeper voice. That music cue at the very end, the shot of Nai sort of, you see her crumbling, so good, and it fades into this song that you think is, but if it just fades into silence, honestly,
It would
fantastic.
be beautiful. Or even fuzz.
Yeah. Okay. 15 done.
We did it.
That's it. Thank you.